The anime begins by showing an elite spy, codenamed Twilight, who has an important duty to maintain peace between the Westali's country and the country of Ostania. One time, the intelligence office of the Westali state, which is more commonly known as the Wise Agency, received news that an elite official from Ostania named Desmond was planning to cause conflict between the countries of Westalis and Ostania. In response to the problem, Wise's office decided to send their best spy, Twilight, to investigate him. Unfortunately, Desmond is a VIP official who rarely appears in public spaces and only attends the gathering of parents from among the elite nobles at a most prestigious private school in the city. The private school is a school that only accepts nobles, wealthy businessmen, or high-ranking government officials. To get into Desmond's circle of relationships and approach him, Twilight must find a child who will be sent to this elite school. So far, Twilight has always carried out dangerous missions so perfectly that Twilight's name is known as the most talented and genius spy in the Wise institution. However, he feels that the mission called Operation Strix is much more difficult than the missions he has completed before. After all, even as the best spy, he can't disguise himself as a child. As the first step, Twilight will rent an apartment and change his identity as a psychiatrist named Lloyd Forger. Next, Lloyd goes to an orphanage to adopt a child who he feels is smart enough to be able to enter an elite school later. Upon arriving at an orphanage on the outskirts of the city, he is met with a little girl named Anya, who turns out to have the ability to read minds. After Anya found out that Lloyd was looking for a smart kid, she immediately pretended to do a crossword puzzle and copied all the correct answers from Lloyd's mind. He also seemed impressed with Anya, who was able to answer all the riddles correctly, so he decided to adopt her. When Lloyd first lived with Anya and had a relationship like a normal family, Lloyd still looked stiff because he didn't have any knowledge about parenting. Plus, Anya often acts strange because she can read the minds of Lloyd and the people around her, so that Lloyd, who doesn't know anything, can only be confused by her strange behavior. A few days later, Lloyd meets a male spy agent named Frankie to collect the elite school registration that Anya will attend later. Frankie had also tried to investigate Anya's background, but he couldn't find much information other than the fact that Anya had been repeatedly returned to the orphanage by all the families who had previously adopted her. The next day, Anya heard the sound of Lloyd's thoughts that he was hiding a spy device in his room. And when he left, Anya, who was curious, immediately sneaked into that room. After successfully finding Lloyd's spy tool, Anya was too busy playing that she didn't realize she had sent a signal about Twilight's existence to the enemy spy agency. As a result, the enemy spies immediately went to the house where the signal came from and kidnapped Anya to threaten Twilight. When Lloyd returned to the apartment, he realized that several enemies had sneaked into his apartment, and Lloyd could easily defeat all the enemy spies and immediately rushed to the location where Anya was being held. Lloyd deliberately disguised himself as one of the subordinates of enemy spies and quickly distracted them so he could take Anya away from that place. After successfully bringing Anya to a safe place, Lloyd asks her to go to the police station while he defeats all the remaining enemy spies in that place. Turns out, Lloyd plans to return Anya to the orphanage because he doesn't want to put her in a dangerous situation. But after Lloyd finished defeating all the enemy spies, Anya chose to wait for Lloyd and didn't want to go to the police station. Seeing Anya whining so that he wouldn't leave her, Lloyd felt sorry for Anya and remembered that she had been repeatedly returned to the orphanage. After considering many things, he finally decided to stay with her, even though he knew that this Operation Strix mission was not an easy mission for the two of them. A few days later, Anya takes the entrance test to an elite school with children from other elite families. Anya seemed to have a hard time completing the exam because she couldn't copy the answers from Lloyd's mind. While in the room, all the students looked confused answering the questions, so she couldn't copy the answers from their minds either. Anya also had no other choice but to try to finish the exam on her own effort and rely on her memory of everything that had been taught by Lloyd. Fortunately, Anya passed and managed to enter the next selection round, namely the parent interview. Lloyd realized that all children who were accepted into this elite school had to pass an interview with both their parents. That means Lloyd must start looking for a young woman who is willing to be his fake wife for interviews later. In the midst of the confusion of finding a wife, Lloyd also has to think of ways to change Anya's behavior so that Anya looks like she comes from an elite family. Fortunately, it seems that luck is on Lloyd's side. He finally meets a beautiful woman who fits his criteria while he is taking an order for clothes from a regular tailor. The beautiful woman named Yor is a woman who works as a government office staff, but in fact, the job is just a cover to hide the identity of Yor, who is actually an assassin. Yor is actually an assassin who is quite talented with the nickname Thorn Princess because she can kill the evil mafia with her weapon that looks like a thorn. That dark life makes Yor not have time to find a lover or have a romantic relationship. When Yor meets Lloyd at the sewing shop, they seem fascinated by each other. Coincidentally, she is also looking for a young man to be her fake boyfriend, so he can accompany her to a party organized by her friends. After Anya finds out that Yor is an assassin looking for a boyfriend, Anya seems enthusiastic about imagining that she can have a spy father and an assassin mother. Anya also gives a code that Lloyd is a widower and still does not have a partner so that Yor can approach him. After Yor told Lloyd that she was looking for a fake boyfriend to take to a party, he immediately offered to help her. Lloyd also asked her to be his fake wife for some time, and Yor agreed to it. On the night of Yor's friend's party, Lloyd is a little late because he has to complete a special mission to retrieve contraband from a mafia group. Lloyd and Frankie could easily steal the contraband, and Lloyd could go straight to Yor's friend's party location. But on the way, Lloyd was intercepted by several other mafia members, so the fight between Lloyd and the mafia was unavoidable. At the same time, Yor, who had been waiting for Lloyd's arrival for a long time, was forced to come to the party alone because she was already very late. A few moments later, Lloyd finally managed to come to the party before the party ended, even though he had to come in a state of clothes covered in bloodstains. In a panic, Lloyd introduces himself as Yor's husband and immediately apologizes to Yor for making her wait too long. Yor looked worried to see him, who came in shabby and covered in wounds, but she thanked Lloyd for being able to attend the party. One of Yor's female friends who had hated Yor all this time looked envious after hearing that Yor had married a very handsome young man first. This jealousy made her feel angry and she intended to throw a hot pot at her. Fortunately, Yor was able to avoid it with the martial techniques she had mastered. After the party was over, Lloyd took Yor back to her house, but there were still other mafia members who were there, so Lloyd had to lie by saying that the mafia was one of his patients who had a recurrence. After they managed to fight off some mafia and escape in an alley, Lloyd plans to propose to Yor using the ring he had previously prepared. However, because the ring is missing, he is forced to propose to Yor using a safety pin from a hand grenade. Coincidentally, Lloyd was also able to use the grenade to blow up all the remaining mafia members. The next day, Yor finally moves into Lloyd's apartment, and Anya looks happy that she finally has a mother. Anya was very enthusiastic about Yor's arrival and immediately showed all the rooms in the house to her. Anya even claimed to have helped Lloyd clean all the rooms and prepare food, even though she was actually just messing up and hindering Lloyd's work. After that, Lloyd tried to test Anya and Yor with all the questions that might come up in the interview test later. Unfortunately, Anya gave silly answers and had a hard time answering many questions, so he became a little frustrated. To relieve tension, Yor invites both of them to relax in the city park and breathe fresh air. But before that, he invites Anya and Yor to eat together at a fancy restaurant and take family photos together like any other elite family. After that, the three of them went straight to the city's green park, and Lloyd realized that breathing fresh air could actually make his mind calmer. While relaxing together, Lloyd and Yor see an old woman being robbed. Yor immediately ran to chase the robber, but she lost track of him. Fortunately, Anya could hear the thoughts of the robber and immediately alerted Lloyd so that they too could catch the robber and return it to the owner. Although Lloyd still doubts that this family can complete his mission, but he feels relieved because they become closer. The day of the parent and child interview test arrived to determine whether Anya would pass and be accepted at Eden Academy School. The first time he entered through the school gates, Lloyd immediately realized that several exam supervisors and school teachers had been watching all the students' families secretly. That means the exams have started since the students' families entered through the school gates, and the assessment of their eligibility has begun. Lloyd's conjecture proved correct. All the teachers and exam supervisors had been watching them through the school windows, including one of the senior male teachers named Henry. Henry is a supervising teacher who pays great attention to the manners and elegant demeanor of a person, so that he will easily eliminate all those who he considers less elegant. No wonder Henry was amazed when Lloyd Forger's family paid their respects to the statue of the founder of Eden Academy, which showed an attitude of elegance and patriotism. In addition to assessing their appearance and behavior, the supervisor also gave a small test to find out which family would be willing to help a child who was trapped in a ditch. At first, Henry was disappointed to see Lloyd, who chose to dirty his suit and help the kid who fell into the sewer. But it turns out that Lloyd had anticipated this by bringing a change of clothes, so that Henry was even more amazed by the elegant attitude of the Forger family. After that, Henry gave a second test by taking out some farm animals in the schoolyard to see how the students and parents would act. But the test got out of control because all the animals came out at once, creating chaos and putting the students' families in danger. Henry immediately ordered the supervisors to save the examinees because many of them were important people or VVIPs. When one of the sons of a minister is almost injured by the herd of livestock, Lloyd quickly saves the boy from the pursuit of the animals. After that, Yor, who has the ability to calm wild animals with a nerve-piercing technique, took action and immediately made all the farm animals return to their cages. Henry, who witnessed all this from behind the window, seemed impressed with them and immediately thanked the Forger family. A few moments later, it was the Forger's turn to have an interview with the examiners, and Lloyd looked more nervous than when he had to complete other bigger missions. When the interview started, everything seemed to be going smoothly, but in the middle of the interview, one of the examiners who was jealous of the Forger family harmony suddenly provoked Lloyd's anger. He hated the harmonious and happy family very much because he had just divorced his wife and his married life never went well. The supervisor deliberately made Anya cry by provoking her to tell about her past, which made Lloyd angry and immediately smashed the table. Although when Lloyd destroys the table, he makes an alibi by saying that he only wants to kill a mosquito on the table. After the interview, the evil supervisor insulted Lloyd by saying that his attitude just now didn't reflect the attitude of a noble. However, Lloyd responded with a cold attitude, saying that demeaning and hurting a child was also not the attitude of an elite. Henry, who was annoyed with the supervisor's spiteful attitude, could not contain his anger, so he immediately beat the supervisor. That evening, Lloyd looked lethargic after realizing that the interview that day didn't go well enough and his mission was at risk of failure. Yor, who saw this, tried to calm him by serving him a glass of hot tea while saying that he need not worry because the other two examiners were good people. A few days later, Lloyd is forced to accept that his mission has failed after he finds out that Anya did not pass the entrance exam to Eden Academy. Fortunately, Henry arrives and informs Lloyd that Anya is on the waiting list, so that if any student withdraws, Anya will automatically qualify for Eden Academy. Hearing this, Yor suddenly thought of threatening some parents so that their children withdrew, but she immediately gave up her intention after hearing that every year there were always students who withdrew. Henry's words proved to be true. In the afternoon, Lloyd received a phone call saying that Anya had been successfully accepted to the Eden Academy. A few days after that, Anya took orders for uniforms at a regular sewing shop with Lloyd and Yor, and the shop owner's mother also looked proud after learning that Anya had made it into Eden Academy. After that, Lloyd received word from Wise's office that their next mission was to make Anya one of the top students in the academy, so that their family could be invited to a special party attended only by important people, including Desmond. The requirement to become an excellent student is to collect 8 stars, each of which will be given to students who have academic achievements or contributions to society. On the other hand, if a student makes a mistake or performs poorly, then they will get Thunderbolt points, whereas students who get more than 8 will be automatically expelled from school. After Anya got her uniform, she purposely took Yor to the city park to show off her new uniform to people. Then when they were shopping at the supermarket, some thugs intended to kidnap Anya because they saw her wearing a uniform from a very prestigious school. When she was playing alone and separated from Yor, some of the thugs immediately took the opportunity to catch her. Fortunately, Yor arrived on time and beat all the thugs with her assassin skills so that all the thugs fled in fear. After seeing Yor's martial arts action, Anya seemed impressed and asked Yor to teach her some punches so that she could become stronger like her. The next day, Anya, Yor, and Lloyd attend the invitation to accept new students with other elite families. After the welcoming speech was read, the new students were called to the front of the hall and lined up according to their respective classes. Desmond's son, Damien, turns out to be in the same class as Anya. Apart from Damien, Anya is also in the same class as the child of a businessman providing war equipment named Becky. Lloyd's desire to make Anya close to Damien had to be hampered because Damien's gang actually bullied and mocked Anya after finding out that she was only a daughter of a psychiatrist. Originally, Anya had intended to retaliate against Damien by hitting him using the punching technique that Yor had taught her yesterday, but Anya chose not to escalate the matter for the success of Lloyd's mission. Becky looked amazed to see Anya being patient and only returned Damien's treatment with a sweet smile. However, Damien was annoyed with Anya's attitude and instead provoked Anya's anger by threatening to make her family suffer. Anya, who was annoyed, immediately hit Damien with the alibi that she was deliberately doing that to help Becky, whose feet had been stepped on by Damien. Henry also seemed impressed by Anya's caring attitude, but he had no other choice but to give Anya 1 Thunderbolt because it was an official school rule. As a result of this incident, Lloyd's plan to get Anya close to Damien failed, and Anya also felt guilty. In order to help smooth Lloyd's mission, Anya intended to apologize to Damien the next day. But every time she intends to apologize, Becky always prevents her, and Anya's attempts to reconcile with Damien fail. During school break, Anya intends to approach Damien and apologize because Lloyd keeps pushing her to make peace with Damien. To help Anya, Lloyd purposely calls Becky to the teacher's room through the school's speakers so that Anya can approach Damien without any interference. But after she apologized in front of Damien while crying, he got even more angry and immediately left her. Lloyd, who realized that his plan had failed, had no other choice but to use the second plan, which was to make Anya the top student in the academy. Lloyd continuously pressures Anya to study hard because Anya's grades are still very low, but this makes her even more stressed and depressed. Yor also tried to persuade Lloyd not to push Anya too much and suggested that he motivate her by giving praise or appreciation. Hearing Yor's explanation, Lloyd just realized that he had been too harsh with Anya, so he had to learn to adapt and be a good father. A few days later, when Yor was working in a government office, Yor just remembered that soon her younger brother would return to Japan, even though she had never told him about her marriage with Lloyd. Yor immediately told Lloyd about her younger brother who would visit their house in the next few days. Hearing that, Lloyd prepared a plan to decorate their house and their room to make them look like a romantic married couple. On the night when Yor's younger brother, Yuri, was about to come to Lloyd's house, Anya suddenly fell asleep because they had been waiting for quite a while. It turned out that Yuri was late to come to Lloyd's place because he still had to carry out his duties as an official government intelligence agent in interrogating a criminal who sold data belonging to civilians. After finishing the interrogation, in the evening, Yuri immediately rushed to Lloyd's house to meet his older sister and check whether Lloyd was a suitable husband for his older sister. When he first met Lloyd, Yuri was still cold and continued to judge whether Lloyd was the right person for her beloved sister. Yuri couldn't believe that his sister had married someone else without telling him first, and kept suspecting that their relationship was fake. After chatting while drinking wine together, Lloyd finally found out that Yuri's real job was as a state intelligence agent because Yuri's answer was similar to the answers of all the intel he had met. After knowing that, Lloyd became warier of him because if Yuri knew that he was a spy, then he could be caught by the Ostania government. Although Yuri is an intelligence agent, he does not know that his older sister is an assassin and vice versa. Yor also does not know that Yuri is a state intelligence agent. Yuri still doubts that Lloyd and Yor are husband and wife, so he dares them both to kiss each other and prove their affection. Hearing that, Lloyd and Yor also have no other choice but to kiss in front of Yuri to make him jealous because his sister chooses Lloyd over him. Yuri, who feels sad, immediately leaves the house while warning Lloyd never to hurt his sister. In the following days, the life of the Forger family went on as usual and became even more harmonious, which made Anya feel very happy. Anya's family life is very harmonious, very much different from Damien's life, which is lonely and sad because his father never pays attention to him. Damien also felt sad because he was often compared to his older brother, who had achievements and had become the top student at the academy. Therefore, Damien was determined to be the first student in his class to receive a star award so that he could become an excellent student and be appreciated by his father. Damien plans to become the MVP player in the dodgeball sports match that will be held next week and earn his first star. Anya is also determined to become MVP in the match after learning about the star award from Becky. Yor then supported Anya by helping her with physical training for a few days before the match. After several days of intense training, Anya became confident and convinced that she could win the match. Unfortunately, one of the class students who will be the opponent of Anya's class is a very tall and big student. As a result, all the students in her class could easily be defeated by the big student with one hit, leaving only Damien and Anya. Initially, Anya managed to dodge all the balls thrown by the big student, but because Anya slipped, she fell and almost got hit by the ball. Unexpectedly, Damien was willing to sacrifice himself to protect her so that now only Anya is left, who is the hope for her class. Unfortunately, after all the training Anya had done over the past few days, it still didn't enough for her to beat the big student, and Damien scolded her. A few weeks later, Lloyd looks at Anya's test results and finds that she failed in all the lessons. Seeing this condition, he became doubtful that Anya could become an excellent student through the achievement path, so he tried to find out other talents that Anya had. But after seeing that she has no talent in any sports or arts, Lloyd decides to try the last resort, which is community service. Lloyd invited Anya to help with some volunteer work at the hospital, such as cleaning the room, arranging books, folding blankets, or serving food. But none of the work that Anya could do well until the head nurse was annoyed and asked them to go back home. When Anya was about to go home with Lloyd, she overheard the sound of a little boy falling and drowning in the rehabilitation pool. She immediately told Lloyd about it, but because he didn't believe her, Anya immediately ran to the swimming pool to save the boy. Unfortunately, after Anya plunged into the pool, she started to run out of breath and fell unconscious. Lloyd immediately dived into the pool and saved them both so that they were saved. Thanks to this incident, the hospital and the nurses thanked Anya for finding the boy. That incident has also made her manage to get 1 star point from the academy, thanks to her courage in saving other people's lives. Eventually, Anya became the first new batch of students to get star points from the academy and became more and more famous among the students. Anya thought, as the first student to get a star in their class, Damien would be willing to befriend her. However, in reality, Damien hates Anya even more, and her classmates are also jealous of Anya. Recently, Lloyd continues to receive additional missions from Wise's office in addition to his mission in carrying out Strick's operations. As a result of the hefty workload, he became very tired and often came home late at night. The situation was made worse by the neighbors who began to suspect Lloyd of having an affair with another woman because he was rarely seen with Yor and Anya. After Lloyd heard the neighbors who were busy talking about his family from behind, he began to realize that he was too focused on carrying out missions that he forgot to be a good father and husband. Therefore, Lloyd rushed to invite Yor and Anya to go to the city aquarium together and spend time together as one harmonious family. The next day, when the Forger family was about to leave for the aquarium, Lloyd suddenly got a mission from Wise's office to retrieve an item that was smuggled into a penguin in the city aquarium. Lloyd was forced to carry out the mission because the mission also happened to be there, even though Lloyd really objected to carrying out the mission. When they arrived at the aquarium, the Forger family met some of their neighbors who were also visiting the aquarium by chance, so they decided to go around together. After arriving at the penguin location, Lloyd began to observe every penguin in the place to find out which one he should catch. Fortunately, Anya, who knows about Lloyd's mission, is able to help him by using her power to read minds and tell Lloyd about the penguin. After that, Lloyd went to disguise himself as a new aquarium staff so that he had a chance to catch the penguin. After using a special strategy to get the other penguins to pave the way, he immediately took the penguin away with the excuse of treating it. While getting the item from the penguin's mouth, a man claiming to be a university researcher suddenly appeared and approached Lloyd. Fortunately, Lloyd realized that the man's identity was fake and immediately disarmed the man, so that Lloyd managed to thwart the man's plan. On the other hand, some neighboring mothers even accused Lloyd of having an affair with another woman because Lloyd had been away for a long time. But all these accusations were successfully debunked by Lloyd, who appeared carrying a new penguin doll for Anya. Lloyd then argued that he had to win a game to get the penguin doll. Seeing Lloyd's closeness to his family, the neighboring mothers began to realize that he was indeed a good father and husband who wanted to make his family happy. When Anya came home, she took the penguin doll to go around the house and intended to show the whole house to the doll. When she intended to show her parents' room to the penguin doll, Lloyd immediately stopped Anya and scolded her. As a result, she immediately cried loudly, making her parents confused and panicked. Lloyd and Yor decided to play with Anya using a penguin doll and a robot doll so that she could stop crying. Even Lloyd and Yor are willing to play with her until they leave the house in front of many people in order to make Anya have a happy childhood life. This is the end of the anime. The moral we can learn from this anime is that we must always cherish our family. We should at least start trying to become closer to our family and create precious memories with them before it is too late.